Hello, and welcome back to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about their recently released books. It is a beautiful day to have a good conversation with a recently published author in today's episode of the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show. Hi, my name is Ray Walters. In this installment, we will be talking to a retired professor from a major university. She is also a retired high-level public administration official whose career included publication of works in various disciplines, as well as competitive writing projects for which she has received significant recognition and awards. Although our guest is a talented writer and has authored numerous documents and articles related to her field of expertise, her debut romance novel, Kevin and Katherine in the Next Lifetime, explores the complexities of love, differences, and the impact these relationships on loved ones. Now, her fresh perspective adds depth to this captivating tale of love across boundaries. Viewers and listeners of our YouTube and podcast channels, with me today on the Book Connection Show, Miss Crystal Charlotte Lane. Hi, Cece.
Hi, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm very much excited to talk to you. First, Cece, I would like to congratulate you for successfully publishing your book last March of this year with Archway Publishing.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you and to have your book featured in this episode. All right, I'll jump right in on my first question.
Sure.
So, your book is Kevin and Katherine in the Next Lifetime. So, I'm very much curious. Earlier, I said that you are a talented writer. You're a retired professor and a retired high-level public administration official. Now you published works in various disciplines, you got yourself into competitive writing projects, and you receive awards for it. So clearly, your work before involved technical or academic writing. And now this debut novel of yours is a form of artistic expression. Can you tell us about this?
Well, I've had this story in my mind for a very long time, especially since, some of the things that are going on in society today. And I thought about how it used to be. Remember, I'm in the last quarter of my life now, so this is a big change for everything that I've done. I was born in the mid 1950s. So I thought about that, and I thought about the 70s, and I just said, what would happen if two people were used to what beauty looks like? Like, for instance, in the Black community, a lot of women now feel that, oh, a dark-skinned Black man like Idris Melba or Denzel Washington or Morris Chestnut, that is a sign of beauty. And that's the kind of man I want to talk to. And of course, in the white community, if someone as fair as my lead character, beautiful, slim, blonde, blue-eyed women would be the top of the food chain for what that beauty is. You're defined by what you look at what beauty is. So what happens if two people who would look at each other in a crowd before somehow made a connection, an undeniable connection? What if that happened? I have people that I know, and I won't be specific, that would never talk to a white man, ever. There's nothing that a white man would be able to do for them romantically. Same thing in the other side. Black white men who would never talk to a Black woman. That's not what they're interested in. But what if? And that's how this all came about. As sometimes it's not about what somebody looks on the outside, it's about a spiritual connection that could be undeniable.
This is going to be an interesting fiction novel that you have written. So, yes, you said it's a fictional story about two professional people in love, and they have this emotional connection and deepening, passionate relationship. So this is interracial, talks about societies, talks about cultures. Now, I'm very much interested to know, what was your inspiration? You said earlier that
okay, I'll tell you. You want to hear? Okay. Kevin Costner which the book is called Kevin, is my favorite actor. And all my friends, all my girlfriends, we're all about the same age as Kevin Costner, reaching the 70-ish mark, right? We
Right.
used to have movie marathons of Kevin Costner before people even knew there was a Kevin Costner, and that was back in the 80s. Not only is he handsome, but his ability to portray emotion and the protective nature of his characters is what inspired me to name the book Kevin and to take that kind of facade that he had as my lead character, that kind of strength and projection because of that. Ren, or Catherine, so to speak, is a compilation of a lot of women that I know, even some of my own personality can be put into that. And the way these two connect and click with that undeniable connection that they have, I think I've portrayed it pretty well.
Wow.
Does that answer it?
Yes. So you have Kevin and Katherine. These are the two, or Rin, two
Right,
characters
right.
you have in your book. So if I'm your reader, if I happen to, let's say I was shopping on Amazon, came across your book. So how easy is it going to be for me? Because whenever you read books, you always try to relate yourself to the character, right? So how relatable are these characters to your potential readers?
Oh my goodness. I've been getting, if you read the reviews there's about 35 reviews out there on different, especially on Amazon and other places. And I've had some personal reviews. I've
Mm.
had people ask me, where's my Kevin? Where is my Rin? And RIN is very significant to this love story. The two of them have such a connection of real love at the wrong time in life. They could have made better decisions if it wasn't for society that they felt that they let get in the way, that they did not have to. But if they
Right.
had made the right decisions in the beginning, their lives would not have turned out in the way that they did. And they didn't have that strength to do that until later, and it was too late. And I'm hopeful that people, when they feel that they love someone and that they've made a connection to someone that deeply, that they would take that first. That's first, and everything else will happen. A lot of people ask me, because I was embarrassed at first about the sexual nature.
Mhm.
It's about a woman that has not had a lot of partners in her life. It's just the two, her husband and Kevin. Neither one of them is not that kind of sexual or that kind of book. It's
Mhm.
all about the connection of the physical to the spiritual that they have. And that was beyond racial lines. But yet life did not allow them, to do. I don't want to give too much of the story.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
I've had people tell me that they cried. It was very emotional for me to write. There are sections in there that I had to step back from. I literally, the way I was writing this book, it was coming so fast, I couldn't even type as fast as my brain would
Wow.
allow me to. And I would have to stop if I needed to cry. I've had people tell me that it changed their life a little bit as far as what love is and what you tolerate from it and the psychological issues that come up with love and trying to do the right thing when it comes to love. So these are some of the things that I hope answers your question. And even I get kind of, emotional when I think about my two characters.
Wow.
The biggest, though, for most women in my age group, or maybe even a little younger, will say, where is my Kevin? Can you find me a Kevin?
This is in itself, the way listening to you right now sounds really interesting. On the writing side, from academic technical writing into creative writing, is this something that is writing just universal, meaning it doesn't matter if you're a technical writer or a creative writer, you can just basically switch from one to the other?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I do think that for me, it was the passion between the two characters and
Mhm.
the passion of trying to tap into bringing people together in today's world. I think it had to do a lot with passion. to be able to make those descriptions. Technical writing is technical writing. It's about getting your point across. It's about getting funding. But to be able to put a person into space of two characters, and I did get that compliment, and I was very grateful for it, that as I read this book, I'm there. I'm a fly on the wall. I'm right there with them. And it was heartbreaking. That is a little bit different, and that's the emotion that you bring out.
How long did it take you, Cece, to finish this book, to finish writing this?
About 9 months, I would think. I would, because I, was still working. I still work a little bit. I'm retired in the sense of what retired is defined, but I do, I still work and do special projects and things like that. I do assist quite a few communities.
Okay. You do sort of like consultancy.
Yes, that's what you call it. Yeah, I'm a consultant.
So this book, when did the idea come in? Like, while you were still working? Like, were you already thinking to yourself something like, once I retire, I'm going to write the story? Or did the story just, you were already thinking about the story before? Or I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's such a good question. I've been retired for about 6 years, really. And I've been a consultant all that time, maybe even a little longer. And the book has been in my mind for about 4 years. I just hadn't thought about writing it, just listening and having the time to really, listen to my daughters, listen to my friends. And, it didn't matter if the dating scene was in their 20s or 30s or my girlfriends in their 60s and 70s. And, just talking and, getting emotional with them. I've been very lucky. I've been married most of my life to a wonderful man. Absolutely wonderful man. So some of the things that are being experienced out there aren't my own, but my emotion and connection to them is always been a sounding board and to maybe be able to help relay some of that.
Okay. What was the fun part in writing this book?
The arguing, the two characters arguing. Love is not all about, getting along. It's the argument, the disagreements, the fights. That was fun. And also in this particular book, learning about Lanai, as you know, is set in Hawaii. My husband has been to Hawaii when he was young, very young. I had not, but listening to him speak of it and doing really good research on Lanai, that very small island, I think that was exceptionally a lot of fun.
So the setting of the story happened in Lanai, in Hawaii.
The main setting, Lanai.
Okay.
Yeah, that's owned by a billionaire. All of that's in there.
All right. So these are two professionals, right? You have Kevin and Rin. Could you say that their characters in the story were both of them were really accomplished individuals?
They started out knowing each other before they were as successful as they were. But by the end of the story, they were both very wealthy. And their wealth and success, I'll let the reader figure that out.
I think that's what makes it relatable, because that's the usual case. I mean, you meet someone and you basically, like, you're clueless that person you just met, you thought is just going to be plainly professional or plainly friendly. And sometime along the way, both of you guys develop feelings for each other. For me, that's what makes it relatable. Right. Now, you talk about the fun part. We cannot go on without talking about, how should I phrase this? How about the difficult part in writing the book?
Tragedy. There's a scene, and I guess I can say this, where someone loses someone very, very close to them. And having to write that, I buried a child. And I buried, my mother. And that circle of life that involves those two things, to have to bring out that kind of emotion in portraying that for the character was very, very difficult to do. It was very difficult to not make this and I don't want to give away much, but it's not the ending that people wanted. And it was difficult not to bring out the ending that most people want.
Okay.
So that those were difficult decisions and a difficult thing. And I also like to say one other, and I think I explained this about, I don't know if I told you, even though I'm the age I am, I do still have two senior relatives living, my mother's youngest brothers. And writing this book, I was afraid to tell them because they probably lock me in a basement somewhere, tied to a radiator for doing that. For writing something so sensual and so sexy. But I gave the book before I did it to a good friend of mine that is a pastor, and I said to her, "What do you think? I've always been such the good girl my whole life. And even though this is raw and this is life, what will people think of me?" And she read it and she came back, "Go for it." She said, "This is life. This is beauty and the tragedies of life. Go for it. You have my support." So that helped me push it over the finish line, that maybe some people would understand that physical connection that I described is part of their spiritual beings for each other, their spiritual love for each other.
Right. That's a very good advice because I know we also have viewers and listeners who are struggling to write and to share their story. And you talked a little bit about that. Can you expound further? What's your advice that you can give to a writer working on his or her book with first book with these apprehensions or inhibitions?
I write it all down, get it down. Just I know that you're not always there but your computer, but you have your phone. And I've learned how to do notes on my phone. Just get it all down and write it and get it all down and get it into try to tie things together. Just kind of do it. Don't worry about the grammar. Don't worry about the sentence structure. Don't worry about any of that. And as good of a writer that as I am, I had to have someone else look at the structure of what I was doing to get my emotion intact. I was all over the place. I needed to be the professional that I am and someone to bring me into that. Then after you look at it and you write it and you write it and you look at it, have someone else take a look and just don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of the story that you want to share. It is a decision sometimes on some stories, especially since it's nonfiction. If you want to do a tell all or something, I can't advise a person on that, but I can advise a person on fun and fiction and depicting life the way it might be or could be or should be, in a
Right.
story. My One of my sisters who, you know, picked out every single aspect of the book that reminded her of me. There's a section in there like, "What did you do that for?" There was some kind of conversation. She said something that I must share that is really true. She said, "Throughout our whole lives, I could never get you to watch a romance or a rom-com with me. I like shoot 'em ups, mysteries, and westerns. I have never really watched a romance movie in my life, or did I care to? But I wrote this." And she couldn't believe it. I have not.
Okay. You said earlier 9 months. It took you 9 months. How about writers that are taking long? They have this so-called writer's block. Did you experience it yourself, like in the 9 months
No,
you were trying?
I
So
did. I don't
for
know.
writers that has experienced that, what's your advice on when it comes to that?
I don't. I don't know yet. I have three books in my head. This one, actually four. This one, the one that will, that's coming out and a sequel to that, and the prequel to this. After that, I was telling someone I probably could never write another book. I think I would get writer's block. And I can see that happening, but I just don't have it right now because these three, four books have been swirling in my head for a few years. But I'm sure it'll come one day.
Now, right about this very moment, our viewers and listeners should be hearing a song in the background. It is a song that was written for your book, sort of like a soundtrack. And the title of this song that our viewers and listeners are hearing right now is In the Next Lifetime. So let's pause for a couple of moments to give way to this song. Let's listen to a portion of this song. So, Miss Lane, what was that song that you just heard a little back?
Well, when you listen to all the words, he'll say things like, "I'll love you till I get to join you on the other side, maybe in the next lifetime, my friend." They were friends. And at the end, he says, "I know you're waiting there for me on the other side. I'll love you in the next lifetime, my friend." He also says things like, "I love the way you saved me. I love the way you taught me how to love. You brought my walls down." It depicts everything about that book. The melody, the sound. It's for me, it was when I first heard this young man sing this song, his name is Michael, I thought I would just die. It was just so beautiful. This is, to my knowledge, the first song. I mean, he's written other songs, don't get me wrong, but this one has been copyrighted and it's being considered for recording by a 4-time Grammy winner.
Wow.
In fact, that 4-time Grammy winner just called me Sunday to ask me, "Is the song ready? Is the song ready? Is the song ready?" And our thing is now we're going to give Michael a chance to get this out, get it going. And next year, that 4-time Grammy winner will probably record it, maybe as a duet with another Grammy winner. So I am so excited. The book sells the song sells the book. They go hand in hand, and it's just beautiful.
It's not every day that I get to meet an author whose book actually has a soundtrack after to it. It was a beautiful song. The melody and the vocals were really good. So this will be recorded sometime next year.
Well, this particular the recording with Michael,
okay,
will be complete soon and will be available soon. In fact, you'll be able to find a snippet of it on my website soon. And this will be probably by the time this air will be ready to go. The recording by the famous folks will probably be next year, although by that time Michael will be pretty famous himself. So I am just so proud of him and Christina, who kind of coordinated a lot of this. I'm just proud of them both.
All right. I'm very much excited I've listened to the song myself already, and I can say that the song really is good. The vocals and the melodies, as I've said, really are good. And so they can also listen to this song on your website. There's a snippet of the song.
Yeah,
right.
That will be up and running soon.
All right.
You can snip it and download and purchase and so forth.
Will this song be available on streaming platforms?
It will.
Okay. All right. So you heard Miss Lane saying that this song is going to be available for you to access soon. It will be available on streaming platforms. There's a snippet on her website, so you can go ahead and check it out. I'm going to let her plug her website. But before I'm going to let her do that, I have another question, and this has something to do with your personal goals, Cece, your personal and professional goal for your book this year.
Well, I am going to be featured through Archway. I don't know if you're familiar with Chicago's Literary Festival. It's one of the biggest things that we do in Chicago every year in September. And with Archway's assistance, I'll be a featured author there. I will also have Michael there to perform, hopefully. They will allow us to do that. He's so amazing, that song. I've also had a few book signings. My first one was a blowout. We had 125 folks come in for book signings in an hour. It was a pretty big line. I had another one in Munster, which was a little coffee shop, and folks are out the door with that. And I have one more in this area before I head off to Atlanta and DC. And then there's Shilpa's Blue Crayon, That is going to be, it's into editing now with Archway, Simon and Schuster's Archway, and I think it should be out by the fall, hopefully. And Shilpa, like Rin, is something to be reckoned with, but she's navigating two worlds right now, and she's trying to figure it all out, where she is supposed to be and what's real and what's not. And it still has my signature blue running through it. It still has my interracial components running through it. And it still has that mystical and magical flair running through.
This is entirely a separate story, right? This is not a prequel. Okay.
Yes. Shilpa's Blue Crayon will eventually have a sequel. And my daughters are talking me into doing a prequel to Kevin and Katherine in the next lifetime. And we'll see how all that goes. But those books I can do. After that, writer's block, I'm sure will be there because I don't think I have any more to give after that.
I think a good break is going to be a reward for you right after you're done with all these projects that you have. Do you have social media accounts you want our viewers and listeners to follow on?
I do have cclane-author.com is my website. I don't have a lot of traditional people things do. I do have an Instagram. You'll find me on Instagram, and you'll find me in other places. But if you Google Crystal Charlotte Lane or Google Kevin and Katherine in the Next Lifetime, it's everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. It's all over the world. So you'll find it anywhere and everywhere if you just Google.
Well, it's kind of like, well, every beginning has its end. So I'm going to ask for your final message, Cece.
I'm grateful. Like I said, this is the last quarter of my life. There's no doubt about that. Strong, sound mind, and animated Ray, as you know. You've been wonderful to be my host. I can't be more grateful to have you walking me through this. I was not nervous or anything like that. But I'm just grateful that people have perceived my work and that I'm hopeful that other people will read it and be engaged and want to talk about these characters. So I think my final word is just to say thank you.
Well, thank you, Cece. And I'm hoping that once your next book is out, we're going to catch up once again and do another interview. That's going to be fun. I hope you had a great time here on the Book Connection Show, Cece. It's been a delight talking to you.
I haven't. Thanks again. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much to our viewers and listeners on our YouTube and podcast channels. Show us some love by hitting subscribe, by liking this particular episode. This is Ray Walters. Join us again next time here on the Book Connection Show.